Hey, everybody. In today's episode, it's myself, Dr. T, and a friend of ours, Maria. Disclaimer, please grab a tissue box. You're going to need it. Maria comes on the show today to be vulnerable. And we talk a lot about grief and loss. And she had an event happen at the age of 13 years old that shifted her life moving forward, but in a positive way. You oftentimes hear us say, turn your mess into your message. And she has truly, truly, truly done that. She is a direct representation of what can happen in our lives if we let God direct us in all of our moves moving forward. She started a foundation that she talks a lot about openly in this podcast and how it's impacting people's lives all across the globe. So we cover all that and more. Enjoy the show. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I'm your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Dr. T.
Hi, everybody.
And we also have Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
First things first. Thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use. And thank you for watching on YouTube. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us. info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. Right, ladies?
Right.
That's right.
What up, T?
What up?
How you doing?
I'm good.
You got your made-up holiday festive shirt on?
Yes.
For Valentine's Day? Yes, capitalism at its finest. You know, that's all right. We live in
Don't
a
judge me.
capitalistic society. You know, go out and buy some chocolates and some, Valentine's Day swag that will be lost over the next 24 to 48 hours.
Tom's in a bad mood today, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm actually not, Maria. Maria, thanks for coming on. How are you?
I'm very good.
So, T, I'm going to let you do the introduction here, and we'll get rolling from there.
Okay. So this is Maria. We've known each other for a long time now.
Mhm.
We met each other back, I think, when I was in med school.
Like 30 years ago.
I remember celebrating that you're a doctor.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Yes. Over 10 years ago. And we knew each other back then, and I knew you shared bits and pieces of your story with me about your mom and your, childhood upbringing. And I forgot, it was like a month ago or so, you had posted on Instagram a really sad, I don't want to say sad, but it touched me in my heart.
Moving.
There you go. Good word. A very moving post about your mother and what had occurred in your childhood. And I could relate to it because I lost my father to a similar scenario. And it moved me because of how successful you are now in your life with being involved in the church, with your realty stuff. You've always had a really strong community for yourself. And so I just wanted you to come on and share your story and how that's really molded you into who you are today and how you carry that journey with your new family and your children.
Yes. Well, thank you both for having me on. And when I was looking at everything you do and I saw that the sign mess to message, I really relate with that because we've all gone through things, in our childhood. And that is what really shapes us as we grow up. And we're able to inspire other people through our story of overcoming. So I'll just jump in and just say what happened.
Before you do you want me to read the post, maybe?
Not yet.
Okay.
Get into, because I'm sure there's a reason why you posted this and when you posted it. If there's like a scenario in which why you posted it. So when you get to that point, then we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm the oldest of two other siblings. My brother's 2 years younger and the other one is 6 years younger. And I was 13 years old, and this is 2005. We just had, it was just Thanksgiving and my brother's birthday, and the three of us were sitting in the car outside of Toys R Us before it turned into the
PGA golf
Yeah.
sort.
Oh, yeah.
Which I know Pierre's a huge golfer. So, but yeah, in that parking lot, we were sitting and we had our toys that we just got. And my mom looked in the rearview mirror and she just asked us out of nowhere. She said, "Would you guys be okay if I died?" And I just kind of paused and I looked at her in the rearview mirror and I said, "We would survive, but why are you asking? That's never going to happen." And then 2 days later, it was a Monday, a school day at 6 a.m., and I wake up to my 2 younger brothers pounding furiously on my door and just shouting that Mom's dead. And I get up and I walk over to their room, and the smell of gun smoke is in the air, and I see her on the bed. Her chest is heaving in and out, and she had shot herself in the heart. My dad was on the phone with the paramedics. He had left that morning to go to early morning mass, and she had called him to come home. And as soon as he came home, he shut the door and she pulled the trigger. So he yelled at me to get towels, and I could barely hear him. Like the whole world just kind of stopped, in that moment. And as a family, we all huddled in the police car once they finally got there, and we were just praying. And after going to the station and telling them everything that we knew, my dad, spent the rest of the day telling us about her history and that she had battled depression and suicide from before he met her. Her dad had left the family when she was 13, and her mom just went into a deep depression because they had the picturesque Palm Beach lifestyle, and he had a big real estate company, and him leaving with another woman just like broke her heart. And then my uncle and aunt got into drugs and alcohol, partying lifestyle, which did take my aunt's life when she was 21 and I was just born. So my mom was carrying that with her, and she and my dad butt heads a lot with their big, dominant, big personalities. And then her relationship with her dad and stepmom and mom just kind of piled up on her. And back then in 2005, depression and suicide were not topics of everyday conversation. Now it's like, oh, you have that too. But back then, no one talked. So she didn't really have a community that she leaned on. I'm just thinking of how she got to this point of not telling this to anybody that she was dealing with this. But yeah, that's what happened.
Whoa. That was right out of the gates.
Yeah.
So you were 13, and I was doing math in my head, and
2005.
2005. So you're 32
now. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
I'm good at math. No, I'm not good at math, but I'm good at simple math. So this would have happened, what, 13, 17, 19 years ago?
yes.
Looking back on that time, how often are you reflecting on that? Is that something that I've never gone through anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you find yourself thinking about still to this day, like all the time?
So for the first 10 years, basically after that happened, from 13 to 23, I really didn't talk about it much, didn't really think about it much, just kind of put all of this in a box and put it in the upper shelf of like my brain. But ever since 23 on, I've been talking about it a lot more. And I believe that talking about it helps you heal. So all this not healing from it has been healing over the last 9 years. But I do think about her often, yes. And not in a sad way, but seeing my children now, just, it is sad that she's not there to experience it, but I know that she's with us and she's smiling down, and I see her love through my friends and through things that others will say to me. So I know she's watching and very proud.
Yeah.
Immediately after this
Mm-hmm.
happened, as a family, how did you process it? Did you guys talk about it? And did you guys seek therapy or counseling after? How did you handle that?
Yeah,
your
so
family handle that?
my dad wasn't really into counseling or therapy, and he's very private. And now as an adult, I understand that he's also a narcissist. But he would talk a lot, but about all of their history together and stories, and it was talked about often, but it wasn't like reflected upon like that it was sad. It was just spoken about as a matter of fact. So no, we didn't really have therapy.
Growing up, I mean, at 13 years old, it sounds like drug addiction, alcoholism, and mental health was all around you, right? I mean, do you communicate with your dad?
We have in the past, but right now we're having healthy boundaries.
Oh, okay, good. We can maybe get into that later because that's an important topic. But like, so you have two younger brothers, being kind of in that and did you know that your mom had mental health issues, or was this, I mean, you're sitting in Toys R Us parking lot and your mom asks you this question. I mean, do you remember were you surprised by that? I mean, obviously you were, but like what's going through your head at that time?
So there was many times I can recall of her laying in bed for long periods of time, but we were just told that she was sick. And I didn't really think too much about that. So, and we were in school during the day, so I wouldn't see her in these moments of when she might have been in depression or being alone. And she was a part of an auction at the time, and there was some women on the auction that were jealous about her success. And just a week or two before she took her life, she asked me, like, should I quit the auction? And it was really weighing on her that this was happening too. So I just feel like there was so much.
What do you mean auction? Like,
at our school, there was an auction that she was on the committee of, and she was getting fundraisers and items donated. And the other women were not very nice to her on the auction. And I'm actually friends with one of the moms today, and she can recall that happening, and she didn't like the way the other women were treating her.
The outside of your mom, was there any other suicide in the family, or was this like kind of the first?
My grandma went into that deep depression after my grandfather left the family, and my grandma said that her mother also dealt with suicide. And my grandma said that if she wasn't such a wimp, she would probably have taken her life too.
Right.
So that depression was in the family. But this, outside of my aunt dying from bulimia, anorexia, drinking, that had happened prior to my mom taking her life. And also my uncle, he ended up getting into a car crash also with drugs and alcohol in his system about 5 years after my mom. So all three of these children
he was killed.
Passed. Drunk driving. He hit a tree on 95, exit of 95 in PGA.
Did you ever have like nightmares, flashbacks, emotionally? How did this affect you? Or did you even recognize it as such, growing up after all of this happened? Or did your siblings, did you guys ever talk about
I know my
the
brother
trauma involved with seeing that? And
I feel like my brother was the most impacted with the depression side of things. And he has had many suicidal thoughts and questioned God, and he's still dealing with that to this day.
How much younger is he than you?
2 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he joined the army, and he just got out of the army, and now is in a relationship, and he has happiness in the relationship, but he's still not at peace, like with himself and with God. So,
well, let's get into, because you've obviously done a lot for yourself and other people by way of, I mean, you turned your mess into your message. So let's get into that. I mean, we obviously know what happened. young child, suicide, mom's gone, dad is. Well, let me ask this: how did you guys move forward? Was it just you, the three of you, and your dad? Did somebody else kind of come in and fill that motherly role at all in any capacity, or was it just like we're gonna deal with, we got to move forward?
Yeah, it was the three of us and my dad. He brought in nannies but it was many and they were very transient. And they weren't very helpful. But it was mainly just the three of us kids. We were in school for a few more years and then we were homeschooled. And when I say homeschooled, it wasn't any real structure. It was, here's the curriculum, just turn in the things that are required to pass. But there was no structure. And now, as an adult, seeing what homeschool could have been for us, I feel like we definitely missed out on the different groups and curricular activities we could have been a part of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was your dad. I mean, your dad, what did he do for work, or what does he do?
In construction.
Okay.
Building homes.
I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. I mean, that's got to be tough on him. 3 young kids now. It's like, I can only imagine, what's going through his head. But once you're out of school. Oh, this is what I wanted to ask you. Did you have to step up? We hear these stories a lot where something happens to the parents and then the oldest sibling all of a sudden turns into a parent.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any experience with that?
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
I would clean the house, cook for the kids, my 2 brothers and my dad, do the laundry, just keep the house orderly and everyone fed, and try to teach my brother how to read in the meantime.
Did it work?
Hey, he can read, yeah.
Yeah, good.
So basically you assumed your mother's role, like you weren't able to grieve and process things. You just kind of jumped into becoming that figure and taking on everything and just moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's get into the positivity that has come from all of this. I mean, it's been 19 years. You obviously wrote a book. Before we get to that, let's talk about this post now where Tambini kind of sparked the interest of having you come on.
Is it okay if
Sure.
I read it? This photo was taken 1 week before my mom passed away. We were going to a friend's wedding. A few days after this, my brothers and I were sitting in the car outside of Toys R Us, where we just got my brother a birthday gift. My mother, Amanda, looked into the rearview mirror and asked us a question that would change our life forever. Would you guys be okay if I died? I paused and thought and replied, we'd be okay, we'd survive, but why are you asking that? It is never going to happen. 2 days later, we woke up to a new reality. Before leaving our home with the police, I sat down at the piano and played the song. How do you say this?
Adila.
Adila. Little did I know at the time, but that song was prophetic for what was happening. Adila, you are far above me, very far. Adila, as distant as the lovely evening star, very far. Where you walk, flowers bloom. When you smile at the gloom, turns to sunshine, and my heart opens wide. When you're gone, it fades inside and seems to have died. Aldila, I wondered as I drifted where you were. Aldila, the fog around me lifted, there you were. And the kiss that I gave was the love I had saved for a lifetime. Then I knew all of you was completely mine. It wasn't common to talk about suicide or depression back in 2005, but nowadays it's more common. I pray that my vulnerability in sharing her story frees countless souls of any burden and that they carry to live a life rich in divine blessings. The blessed life ever.
You're on Instagram, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
What's your IG?
Maria_blessedlifeever. And the E on life and ever is just 1. So it's 1 E. Because understanding that we're all going to pass at some point makes it a lot easier for me to process this whole thing. That we're only here to get out of here. That's motto I grew up with, and don't sweat the small stuff and everything is small stuff. So I heard that my whole upbringing. And so when this happened, realizing that God has a plan and a purpose, this pain will be used for something, even if I can't see it right now. And so I didn't blame her for leaving us. I mean, it's very sad that she did, but I guess my biggest worry through this whole thing was what would happen if I grew up and some of this depression was still inside of me, and I grew up, had kids, my hormones went out of whack, and I did the same thing. So that was like the fear around all of that. And, now I have 2 kids. And before I had them, I just came to the realization that that is something that she went through, and that this ends here. Like, I get to create this family and this life that I want for them, and that story is not going to be my story.
Yeah. That's something that was going through my head when we were talking about you having kids and stuff like that. And hearing this, I wanted to ask like that particular question. Is that something that has been a fear of yours? And that's why I asked a previous question, like, is there anybody else in the family that has struggled with stuff like this? And you've thought about it, as I think it rightfully so. Does that ever cross your mind again? Or are you pretty like, this ends here? And are there things that you're doing to ensure that that's the way that it is?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So I feel that suicide and depression has their breeding ground in secrecy and isolation. So I'm doing everything I can not to have an isolated life. And I was most depressed when my life was very compartmentalized, when I had my real estate over here and I acted and was a certain person there. And then in church, I was someone else and like was a little girl on the prairie type of scenario at church. And then with friends, I was one way, and with my family, I was another. So just very different. Now all those circles are like together, whereas the moms I hang out with, they're in my church. Our clients are our friends, like my family. I'm very just transparent. So I'm going out of my way to have the circles be all together so that who I am in all these scenarios is the same person. And sharing her story is also helpful because you just bring it to light. And with anything, I feel if you're dealing with something that is an addiction or something you're trying to keep secret and you bring it to light, automatically, I feel like it helps so much. Like with my husband, for instance, he was dealing with a pornography addiction, and it really affected him. He said he felt dead inside, and through him confessing that sin, he's been able to overcome it and help other people overcome it too. And it's been a huge turning point in our relationship and the life that we're creating. So I feel talking about it helps a lot.
That's something that I think a lot of men deal with. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't planning on segueing this way, but since you brought it up, you're exactly right. When we talk about like there's these subtle things that can be playing in our life that, it's not hurting anybody. Mm-hmm. Right? Even if you boil it down to drug addiction and alcoholism, most people that are drug addicts and alcoholics don't think they're harming anybody. So therefore it's justified use. With your husband, was that something that, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but I do think it's a topic worth talking about. Was there a specific event that had to happen, or was this like an inside job with him, like God working in his life, and like you said, he felt dead inside? Did he approach you with this, or was this something that like how did that work out?
Mhm.
Because I've struggled with it. I know many men have struggled with it, and I don't struggle with it now. But if I did, I could tell you one thing: I would not want to go to my wife and say, "Hey, by the way," you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So I caught him, right?
Yeah.
And up until that point, he had kept it a secret. And, God is so funny because whenever we catch someone in something, he makes sure that there's a mirror right there to make sure that as you're judging that person, to make sure that you're checking yourself. So, had I caught Josh before I watched 50 Shades of Grey, I would have no ability to relate with him. But I had just watched it and I felt the effect of like what that did to me mentally. And so I am so mad at him in this moment, but then God's like, you just watched that and you felt really, you know. So I was able to kind of understand where he's coming from, that he grew up with this. His brothers, I mean, his friends, they were all into it. It was like not a big thing. He thought he wasn't hurting anybody. So I let it go. And then like 4 months later, after we're engaged, we're getting ready to get married, we got into an argument and I catch him again. So this time I throw the ring at him. I'm like, it's off. And he just like broke down and he publicly like confessed on our whole Zoom call in front of like 100 people what he was dealing with. Because we were in the Landmark Forum, which is like a personal development program. So, and then he confessed it to his parents and brothers and our friends, and he didn't want to lose me. So, having, at the seeing what you love most about to be taken from you because of something that's keeping you back, was a big turning point. And then that same day, we came across this video online, which is called brainheartworld.org. And it talks about how pornography works and how it chemically like changes your brain. They did a study with butterflies and they had these male butterflies around the female butterflies and they saw how they reacted. And then they had them around these cardboard cutouts of butterflies that are exaggerated and bigger and brighter. And these male butterflies were trying to mate with the cardboard because it was exaggerated. And that's exactly what pornography is. It's just an exaggerated, non-realistic type of thing. And that's why our brains chemically are drawn to it. So, and it goes into how pornography is not just affecting us, but it's affecting all of those around us and the world, and how it feeds into the whole child trafficking. And when you realize that, it's bigger, it's part of a whole bigger thing, and how the whole world is affected by this. Seeing that opened his eyes. So I highly recommend that free video series online, brainheartworld.com, because that helped me relate with it and realize that it wasn't just something he's doing against me, but it's something that's, affecting him and has a hold on him, and not just him, but so many other, men and women.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it affects people big time. I mean, yeah, chemically alters our brains. I mean, it's exaggerated. It's, it's something that really affects a lot of people. So I'm glad that, now is he like accountable? Like, does he do like accountability groups and stuff for that? Or is it something that's been?
He will publicly talk about it. And, if there's someone who's dealing with that, he'll share his story.
Yeah.
But, I wouldn't say accountability group, but he is looking to start a men's like group. He talked to his brother. He has some other guys. So he does see the need of having, a brotherhood.
Yeah.
And that men don't get together enough. Women, we have any excuse to get together, but men, you have to go out of your way to do that.
I wanted to ask you, just to bring some comedy, I suppose. I never saw 50 Shades of Grey. So
You
why?
never saw it?
No.
I only I read one book. I never watched the movie.
But
though.
why was it like what do you mean by that? Is it like pornography for women?
I mean, basically, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you watched the movie and it was like, oh, I kind of like this movie.
Yeah, the whole exaggerated, it's a rich guy who's like picking out this girl to do every sexual thing you can.
She's
and then,
his sex slave, right?
pretty much, yeah. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and my girlfriend just raved about it and that it'd be so good for our relationship. And no, it's not. Don't watch it. It's basically porn and it takes you down a route that is not good. And then you start comparing the person you're with this billionaire,
Right.
It's just not healthy.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest things that pornography does and a lot of this stuff. It's like, yeah, we start like, exactly that, comparing, and it's like, oh, this is how it could be. And it's like, well, no, not really.
No.
Unless you want to get into the pornography industry, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what are some of the things that you've done now? I mean, 19 years has passed. You're obviously, doing very well for yourself. You're involved in the real estate business. You're building a home, heavily involved in your church, Christ Fellowship. Shout out to Christ Fellowship. Great church here in Palm Beach County. Pastor Todd.
Yes.
And Julie. Yeah, we love you guys. How have you impacted people with your experiences the most?
Yes. So I started a nonprofit called Amanda Tormado's Right from the Heart Foundation, and its mission is to inspire and empower young people in living their blessed life. So we support other organizations such as Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and we pour into the youth and encourage them with our story. There's 2 orphanages in Uganda that we support and that we're currently collecting funds to build them a home. And it goes with our real estate. Our team name is Best Home Ever. So I would like to make the best home ever for these Ugandan children. So, and then we also have a book called Blessed Life Ever, Biblical Affirmations for Victorious Living. And I just hold on to our faith. Like, the Bible is the guiding light in our life. And my husband was, he was Jewish, but really identified with agnostic. So he knew there was a God, but didn't really have a relationship with him, didn't really have a strong faith. And we literally read 3 chapters of the Bible every day for a year and a half. And at the end of it, he found his faith and he found, God and Jesus. He was baptized in the Jordan River on a trip to Israel. He had an encounter with Jesus at the Wailing Wall when he touched the wall and he saw this figure talking to him. So that's his whole faith journey, but it came through the Word of God. So declaring the Bible promises over our life has really made an impact. And so in this book, we take 848 of the best Bible verses and rewrite it into first person. So instead of the verse from Joshua 1:9, where it says, "Be strong and courageous in the Lord," it's written to say, "I am strong and courageous in the Lord. I do not fear and I'm not dismayed, for the Lord my God is with me wherever I go." So it just takes ownership. And my favorite verse is Proverbs 3:5, where it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart." And it's rewritten to say, "I trust in the Lord with all my heart and lean not upon my own understanding. In all my ways I acknowledge him and he directs my paths." So anytime a negative thought comes into my head or something that tries to, take me down, like, "You're not enough, you can't do this, you don't know what you're talking about," I'll just speak life, over me. I'm strong and courageous. I can do it. I'm a child of God. God's got me. What do I have to fear?
Yeah.
So it's made a huge impact.
What was the foundation called again?
Amanda Tormado's Right from the Heart Foundation.
Who's Amanda Tormado?
That's
Her
my mom.
Okay.
So,
I figured, but you didn't clarify.
So the auction that she was working on, she had called it Right from the Heart. And she had this heart with these children on top of this world. So I took that logo that she had made, and that is the logo for our nonprofit.
Amanda Tormado,
Right from the Heart.
Right from the Heart.
Mm-hmm.
.com?
We're on Facebook and Instagram.
All right. Yeah. What were you going to say?
Nothing.
Oh, I thought you were about to say something. Do you have any examples of, because you're you glean positivity, right? I'm sitting here with, and I can feel it. Like you're just an overall positive person, right? Just, walk into a room and here's Maria. Everybody loves Maria. But has there ever been that, like, a time in your life that you felt like you had to, like, give me an example of when you had to reach for this book and like really like the only thing I had left in this moment was God. Do you have anything that sticks out in your mind?
I mean, when my mom passed, like, that's
Did
all
you
I have.
did you have a as strong of a relationship with God then as you do now?
No.
Okay.
No. And after she had passed and after we were in school for a few more years, then I went like way the other way. I threw out like everything in my closet. I wanted to be like a stay-at-home nun, and that's what I would like wanted to do. And my dad and brothers commented how like this can't be this. I mean, if you're holy, I don't want to be that. Like it wasn't an attractive thing. I'd just be praying all day and fasting all day, and I lost a ton of weight and very thin. And so then I realized that if you want to attract people to God, you have to actually be attractive. You have to be successful. You have to just live your life in such a way that other people are attracted to God. And I feel like Rich Froning, talking about CrossFit, does that. He's very successful in CrossFit and he gives glory to God.
Oh, Rich Froning. That's what you said. I didn't understand what you said. I thought you said Rich Froning. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I love his story because people care about his secret because he's successful in this area of life. So with our real estate, we've helped over 200 people find their best home ever. Our marriage, is beautiful, our children, but me being my little stay-at-home nun wasting away, and it wasn't attractive.
Yeah. How old were you?
17, 18, 19, basically right before I found CrossFit.
And that's probably, if you like hindsight, was like probably your way of dealing with like the trauma and the suppressed emotions, everything that came along with that. Like in your own way, that was how you were going to cope with it at that moment in time because you didn't really know you didn't process it. You didn't,
right.
You didn't deal with it. And at that moment in time was how you did. And I don't think you probably recognized it then. I'm sure you do now. But it made you kind of realize some things and change the trajectory of like the outcome of your life.
Right.
So you did that for 3 years? Like, I just find this intriguing. What do you mean? Like you wanted to be a legit like nun? I don't know.
Yeah.
I only know my extent of knowledge on nuns. Are they wear all black with like a white head thing?
Habit.
A what?
It's called a habit.
A habit? Okay. Was this a legit thing that you were going to do?
Yeah. So at the same time, because we were going to the Catholic Church, and we came across some information that basically said that the current Catholic Church is not the way it was traditionally. So there's a big, there's a division in the Catholic Church, traditionalists versus modern mainstream. So yes, I wanted to be a traditional nun, and there was only like one convent that I knew of, and that's in Upper New York in Rochester. So I did visit that at one point, and
well, okay. I was going to ask you towards the end of the end of our time, tell us something interesting about you that we don't already know. And
there it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
So let's dive into this a little bit. You go up to Upper Rochester to a nun convent. What is that? Like what? Take us through this.
Remember Sister Act, the movie?
Oh yeah, that had Whoopi Goldberg, right?
Yeah, they were nuns. Was it like that?
So you have your mass, you have your rosary, they have their chores throughout the day. These nuns taught in schools.
Do they live there?
Yes.
How many were there?
Like 50 nuns.
Age range?
Anywhere from 19 to 75.
Really? Is there like a And I am not like being facetious.
Oh, you're totally cool.
Is there like a head nun?
Yes.
Okay.
Mother Superior.
That's their name? Mother Superior?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And like do they go out and do anything?
They each convent has their own thing that they do, whether it's to feed the poor or take care of the sick. This one taught in Catholic schools.
Gotcha. Okay. Are they like, is there, how long were you there?
So I went for a 3-day silent prayer retreat. So in total, it was like 4 days. So for 3 days, we didn't talk. It was to have time to be alone with God and do introspection.
For 3 days? You didn't
Yeah.
say a word. What, how, was this in the beginning
Tom
of
would not be able to do this.
No. Yeah. Not a good setting for a podcast. What, was this in the beginning stages of this 3-year, or where did this fall?
This is at the end.
Okay.
This is even after I found CrossFit in the beginning. And I was already dating at that point. So before I started to date, I would have been more interested in joining, but at this point I've already kind of made the decision.
So why'd you go?
To
Solidify your decision?
well, just to be alone with God and
Okay.
time to think. And
Yeah. That sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, again, this is my lack of knowledge, but I feel like, is it true that like is that the right word?
Mhm.
Celibacy
Mhm.
for in the Catholic, like if you're a nun and a priest,
Mhm.
right? You're at least not supposed to
right.
have any sort of sexual relations.
Right. And now that I am a mom, I think going the mom route, you're going to get closer to God real quick.
Yeah.
So I don't see it as one being better than the other at this point. I see it as that's what they do and that's what we do. And the first thing that God told Adam and Eve is be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. So he put the relationship and the family at the beginning of creation. So I do see the family as being the perfect representation or the closest representation to his love.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't planning on talking about that. I don't talk about that part very often.
No, that's good. Yeah.
So as a traditional Catholic, meeting this Jewish agnostic man who I'm now with,
Right.
I'm like, how's that going to work, God? So that was a period of 6 months of just wrestling, like interiorly, like, is this the right man? Is this the right profession? Like, what am I doing with my life? And those were the questions I was asking. And so I decided to do a 9-day prayer and fasting over it. So 3 days of just drinking water, 3 days of just juice, and then 3 days of water. And I was like, God, you're going to give me the answer, like now. Like, what do you want for my life? And at the end of it, I was told, like, yes, this is the right man. Yes, this is the right profession. Just keep walking. And at that moment, I didn't have any hope of Josh believing in God but now, we go to Christ Fellowship together and have this family. But that was a journey. That's something I struggled with.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing. Your story is amazing. Do you have any, and we'll start wrapping this up, do you have any specific stories of a Maria that you've impacted? Like you see this young lady, and you just like circumstances and everything are very similar to yours. Do you have any examples of people that, like, when you think, okay, I impacted that? Like, I have those in terms of sobriety and families and stuff like that. Handful of them that really stick out in my mind, which really keep me fueled to keep doing what we're doing, right? We all have those experiences. Do you have any of those?
Yes. So at the Landmark Forum, when I shared my mom's, the whole story, like from A to Z, and that was the first time I've publicly shared about it. this lady who's literally the same age as my mom would have been now came up to me and she hugged me and she said, I came into this forum suicidal, about to take my life, and I have a daughter who's your age, and hearing your story, I could not imagine her standing up and doing what you just did, and I don't want her to do that.
Wow.
And even years later, she's still doing good, and she said it really impacted her for the better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
And I feel like every time I share, someone comes forward and says that they dealt with that in the past too. And it's a moment that we can share about this and help each other through it.
Do you have any questions?
No, I think a lot of people, whether it's in our industry, mental health or drugs and alcohol, or even not, they have difficulty with God or religion. And there is often, it's a highly debated topic for people. And whenever we talk about it and we're trying to help people in our profession and what we do, we always try to help guide people to find purpose, or find a higher power. And it doesn't necessarily have to be God, whatever that looks like for someone. But I think your story is a good example of that kind of helped you through your entire life. And it's something that you still practice today. And it's not the end all be all. Everyone's story is going to be different. But for you, I think it's a pillar in your life. And to share that and the community you've built being in the, with Christ Fellowship, it's a big entity. It has allowed you to stay as positive as you are, but I think you have more impact on women and these women groups and everything than with your story. And I think it's important for you to continue to share your story and to continue to be a part of these groups because it helps more people more than you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. Just being present and sharing your story and other people knowing who you are, they feel safe to share what they're going through because they know that you're being vulnerable too. So, yeah.
All right, let's start landing the plane. Just some random questions.
Oh, gosh.
Born and raised here?
Yes.
Yeah, you are.
Born in St. Mary's.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just spent a few days there. My daughter just got diagnosed type 1 diabetic.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago now.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing good though.
Mm-hmm.
Still trying to dial in the insulin and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but man.
My nephew's type 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's getting ready to write a little book to encourage others.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I've met so many type 1 diabetics now, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew any prior 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did know them, it was just, whatever. Favorite restaurant in Jupiter?
Favorite restaurant in Jupiter? There's so many good ones. Well, our first date was at Frigates. Yeah, but it's not that good. Lenora's is so good all the time.
Lenora's is good.
They're consistent.
Yeah.
Consistently good.
I thought you were going to say like Leftovers or something. That seems to be what... You haven't been to Leftovers? It's pretty good. If you like seafood. What's the other restaurant up there that I really like? Oh, dang. Culinary.
Yes.
Yeah, that place is really good. Let's see. Favorite Netflix series you're currently watching? Or Apple TV or Hulu, Paramount, any streaming?
Yeah. Can I say The Chosen?
Yeah.
The Chosen from Angel Studios is so good.
What is it?
It's the story of Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Mel Gibson?
No, it's what's his name? Dallas.
Something.
Dallas, yeah.
Dallas.
But it's so good. It gives just a character to Jesus and the disciples where it's not just words on the page, but it comes to life. And it's funny, it's engaging, it's everything you would hope it would be.
What's it on?
It's for free on the Angel platform.
Okay.
Angel Studios.
Angel Studios.
Mhm.
I'll have to check that out. What about you, T? Any series you're
I
watching?
started watching on the way home from Jackson Hole. What is it? Not 1883. No, it was 1883 because I watched Yellowstone
Yeah.
and I watched 1923, and now I was watching 1883.
I can't get into those.
What?
No, and that's the reaction I get from everybody.
So good.
Just the same as like when I said I've never watched Game of Thrones.
I've never watched that
Yeah.
either.
No.
It's too like I need to. If I'm gonna watch something, I can't commit to something that's like 7 seasons long.
What
Yeah.
are you? What's
Like
your
Lost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, you know what? There's two shows that I actually committed to like that.
Landman?
No, what's that? Is that good?
Billy Bob Thornton. It's
Oh,
so
okay.
good. It's on Paramount.
I don't have Paramount. I don't think. I don't know. Maybe I
I
do.
gave you my login.
Okay. Dexter.
Okay.
That was good.
hmm
And Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad. I couldn't watch the end because I didn't want to watch his demise.
Oh, really?
I get like anxiety. Like it made me sad.
Yeah.
So I couldn't. I watched it up
I
to
think
like the
Breaking
very
Bad
end.
was how my brothers and dad coped, back then, because they were all into it. So they bonded over that.
Yeah. I mean, because that show's now probably what? At least 10 years old?
older than
Older.
that. 'cause
Yeah,
I
older
watched
than
it
that.
in residency.
Yeah. Amanda still hasn't seen it. I'm
She
like,
needs
it's a
to.
classic.
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty non-PG, I guess is the way to put it. What I'm watching right now is Prime Target
What's that?
on Apple TV. It's a series and it's a drip series, so which is annoying because now you have to wait.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. It's this guy that's in school at Cambridge, and he's trying to. The whole idea behind the show is that prime numbers, I'm going to butcher this, but through prime numbers, you can basically hack into any sort of digital security
Okay.
system across the world. And he's like a brainiac in Cambridge. And he's been studying prime numbers his whole entire life, like since he was a little kid. And now there's like people out to kill him because if he hacks this code or whatever, then all digital security is like done. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting. And Severance on Apple TV. Severance is like, did you watch that?
No.
It's a very stupid show.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm
So-
doing basically a TV fast, but we're really into audiobooks right now.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Yeah. So Ed Milet, he has a
Yeah.
nice book about just becoming the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
There's one I'm listening to right now. The title's escaping me, but it's all personal development based and getting the most out of your time and your day. And I found that spending time with the kids and planning for the next day and doing our sauna cold plunge thing that we do at night, it's really helping the next day.
So I have a funny story.
What?
I did. Have you ever heard of like the poor man's cold plunge?
Is that ice bucket?
Kinda. So one of the guys that came on the podcast a few months ago, David, he's with Stoked on Life.
Mm-hmm.
He said if you don't have a cold plunge, what you can do is get a colander, like a strainer, fill it with ice, take it into the shower, and hold it over your head. I did that this morning. Oh my God. I'm like,
You just hold it like this on your
That's
head and let the water
hilarious.
go.
I
through
had
the
to
ice?
stop. Yeah, because I felt my heart like skipping beats and stuff. I'm like, great, I'm going to have a heart attack in my shower.
And they're going to say, what was the cause of death?
Poor
Poor
man's.
man's ice bucket.
Yeah. No, but I felt great
Yeah.
after I was done. Do you do that all the time?
Yes.
Really?
We actually bought it at Wadapalooza, which just happened a couple weeks ago, and we were doing it daily.
So what kind of cold plunge is it?
It's by Spa Masters,
Uh-huh.
and it's Michael Phelps brand chili goat. It's a nice one, and it gets to 50 degrees, 49.50. And we spend about a minute at a time in there,
You do that at night?
morning and night. So we'll go in the
Really?
sauna and then go in the cold plunge. Yeah. You guys are welcome over anytime.
I can't do that.
Have you ever done a cold plunge?
We used to do it in college. for
Oh,
basketball.
really? Before it was like a thing.
The locker room had hot tub and then a cold tub, and you just walk back and forth. And the male and female locker rooms had them.
How do you feel after you're done? I mean,
You feel good.
yeah,
You do.
I felt
Yeah.
good just from the 30 seconds I had this ice over my head.
It
I
just
mean-
hurts. It hurts. Like everything getting numb. But then once it's numb, if you can get through the first couple minutes, you're fine.
You'll feel alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
I
can't
can
be depressed or worried or anxious. You can't have any of those feelings when you're in the cold plunge, because all that matters right now is survival.
They're expensive. They're expensive. I mean, some of them are expensive.
Well, I'm happy that you came up with a solution to that.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to get something that I can just go and take the lid off and jump in, but I don't know. I feel like it'd be something that I would buy and do it a couple times. And
I
it
know
would
you.
sit
You would
there.
use it once,
Yeah.
if that.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
No, I'm not. Well, Maria, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and the vulnerability and, just the impact that you're having on people. It's truly amazing. So,
Thank you.
T, any final thoughts?
No, just happy to be here.
All right. That is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.